Okay, now in the last video, we created action types, action creators and reducers. If I show you what we have coded so far, so these are this is the reducer, and this is the object, which matches the action types and returns and updates the state as if. Here you can see it takes the state and payload and type, and where from this payload and type comes from. It comes from this action creator. So we have used a component functions and wrapped it in an object. Okay, and these are the functions we are going to dispatch in our component, so as to we get the state in this application. But before that, the first thing that we want to do is we want to set up the store. So I have already set up the store so that we don't have to type so much. I mean, this is kind of boilerplate that you can use in any of your codes. You just have to understand the separate components what I'm going to speak right now. So the thing is that this is the React Redux, this is the Redux, this is the Redux Thunk. So these are the two libraries that we installed in the very first video, if you rewind and see that. So these are the functions: combine, reducers, create, store, compose, and apply middleware. These are the functions that are available, and we are going to use this. And Redux Thunk is like, it is helpful. It is a kind of middleware, like you can see in the store configuration. We are using the Thunk, which is one kind of library, as a middleware. Now it helps you to for the asynchronous execution of the functions of the action creators when you are dispatching something. Now here we are not making HTTP calls. We will make HTTP calls in some advanced video that is yet to come. But when you are making HTTP requests, most of the times the the response from the HTTP headers or from the back end, it takes time. So within that time, the other part of the code should be running. It should not be blocked. That's a better way of improving the performance of the application. Okay, so this thing, this middleware help it to make the execution uh, of the programming code asynchronous. So like you can see, we have used this imported this functions. We have imported the auth reducer. This is the reducer. Any kind of reduce this, we have imported this object over here. And we are just this is one another kind of combined reducers. Now here we are only having one reducers. In a large application you will be having many reducers, like in an e-commerce app you'll be having reducer for a shopping cart, another one for adding items to the cart, and payment, order, product. These are all separate. No, you will be needing separate reducer function objects matching the action creators to update the states in such kind of situation. So in that case, what we do is we combine the reducers and reduces as an object. Like you can say here, this is an object. We give combined reducers one argument, which is an object, and it is stored in the variable, which is the root reducer. Now we give the root reducer as the first argument to the create store. Now our store is created. Now that we have the store created and we are exporting it, we want to connect this store. This is the Redux store in our app. So we'll go to the top level component. Here is it is the top level component. Here we are, sorry, this is not the top level component. This one is the top level component. And here what we'll do, we'll connect our app to the reducer store. So the first thing that we'll do is import another library that we installed is React Redux. We'll import the provider from that place. Okay, and we'll also import the configure store that we did in the last few minutes. And then we'll use this configure store. We'll use this thing configure store and assign it to the store variable. Okay, now this configure store will take all the configurations that we do in this file and assign it in the store. Now with the help of the provider, we'll just wrap this app, which is the top level component of our application, any React application. So it will we will wrap the provider uh, sorry, we'll wrap the app around the higher order component provider and pass the store as a prop. Okay, now this is a very important stuff. Now when you are dispatching functions like in a form, if it is there, if you want to submit the form, you have to dispatch an action that yes, these are the details of the person and we want to store these details of the person in the database. So that's why we are dispatching an action of passing the person's information to the Redux stores, and hence from the Redux stores it will go to the database. Now when you want to log in, since this is passed as props, when you want to log in, you have to all those things that are states and types and all those things from the Redux store is available to the component connected or unconnected in the form of props. We will learn about this in the later part. But as of now, this is what the concept and this is how you can configure Redux in your application. Okay, now the next lecture, okay, that's the next video, I suppose. What we'll do is we have connected to our application, Redux to our application. This is our sign-in form. Okay, I have made the sign-in form. You will get this from my GitHub repository. I'll provide the link, and in the description you will get it. Okay, so we will implement these two functions where we will be handling the changes, we will be submitting the forms, and we will import couple of stuffs from Redux so as to connect this particular component to Redux, and we will dispatch actions and we will go to the next we will have the response of we will see how the response is happening of having done all of this. Okay, so wait for the next video. Okay, so this is the next video of setting up the React Redux in our application. Now as you can see, this is the register component. We have this input form where we are taking the username, name, email, password and the register button. Okay, now if you have been into practicing programming, then you might know that we put one on change handler and we set the state over here. So that's what we are going to do. So these are my fields. I'll just set the state over here. Okay, so as to preserve all the values, and then e.target dot name, because we have put the name in the container, target dot value. Okay, so this is how we are setting the user component user information in the state. We can also inspect that. So I'm just console logging this state value and see whether it is really stored or not. So I'll just open the the console log window. Okay, so this is the console log window. Now I'll write Pallavi. You can see it is happening over there, and then another one in the name, and then email, whatever thing you want to input, you can do that. Okay, password is 123. So as you can see, our user, we are typing the user. So all the things are stored in our state. That's what we know. Now the next thing is are storing all of the things, we are hitting the button, and this function will get triggered where we are catching the event and all of that. Now all of these things of how these things are happening are completely out of the scope of this tutorial. Um, these are the prerequisites that you might need to know, and if you do not know, I'll have separate videos coming henceforth. So this is the form. Okay, now in this form what we want to do is that first of all we'll just prevent the value, prevent default. This will help the pre help prevent the pre-rendering of the form. Now the next step is to connect this component, because here this is where we are going to dispatch the actions of sending the information of what we got in the user to the Redux. So we go to dispatch the actions from here. Now in order to do that, we have to connect the component to the Redux tool. Now here what we'll do, we'll just import few things. Okay, I have just written that and I'll just paste it over here. So these are the three things we are to get from the React Redux routed down, and these are the action creators. These are the functions. Okay, these are the action creation of the function that we're going to dispatch. We're going to need that ultimately. So this connect function from React Redux will be helpful for connecting our component. Now to connect, we'll write just connect and we'll just wrap it in the register. And this connect, if you go to the React Redux stuff, okay, so this is the React Redux page, official page, and if you go there and you take a look of this connecting, extracting data with map and map state to props and map dispatch to prop, this is the thing. These are the two things which are going to be placed in that connect method, and that will be helpful. Now if I click on this, you will see this connect method. Okay, now one more thing, we are also using with router, right? With router will be helpful for routing stuff, so I'm just connecting that also. Okay, now again back to this. Now we are seeing that it is the connect method is taking the first argument as connect state to maps, and connect method is also taking second argument, that is no second argument. So basically currently our connect is like this, null and null. The first argument is map state to props, and the second argument is map dispatch actions, map dispatch to props. So basically, as you can see, the dispatch to props is default, is by default here. It doesn't matter whether you specifically declare it or not. It is ultimately available to the component as a prop. That's what this thing is saying. Okay. Now, if you are again in this video, we will not apply mass dispatch to props, and we will know how these things. This is a little bit complicated, and we'll know how the things are happening. So basically, we'll just we'll use map state to props right now, and we'll see how things are happening. map state to props. Okay, now there's this another thing. See, we have map state to props. Map state to props will just declare this function, and this will, what this function will do, this will provide us the state which is in the Redux tool as a props. Okay, you can access the state, okay, as a props. Okay, so let me just console log the state and we will see what is in there. Okay, so I'll just go into there and see and reload the page. See, here is the console log, and it is also giving one warning sign over there. It is saying connect with router must have returned a plain object, because we are not returning anything. This function needs to return something. We are just seeing what is it in there so that we can return. Okay, so this is returning the auth reducer. Now remember, what is the auth reducer? The auth reducer is this authentication object. Okay, this is the object, and what we, in this component we will use this case to match this case, and another one will also match. Add profile, we will use these two things in this component, and before doing that we'll have to get the state, okay, to the component. Now the state is, so here what we'll do, we'll access that auth reducer. Okay, I'll just copy paste this one because we want to access this. Okay, access this and we'll see what else is coming. Now you can see we are getting these things. Okay, now what are these things? Now if you go and see the reducer, we are declaring our initial state. Okay, now this is the initial state, so this is what we are getting over here. All right, so we are getting the initial state over here, right? Now what we'll do, we are mainly interested to add a profile. What we'll do in this component is we will just confirm that we have submitted the status, okay, and declare it as true, like so. Okay, as we have stated over here in the register, the submit status will only required, and in the add profile we'll add the user profile. Now in the user profile, these are all required, so we will only access whatever we want. Okay, so now we'll return the profile, we'll give it a variable name and state dot auth reducer. Again I have to copy because it's not coming. Any typo, it will not come. Okay, and in that auth reducers we are getting one profile, we need this thing. Okay, so right now, if you console log the props to this component, you will get this profile as the props. Let me show you. So these are the props. Now if I console log what are the props available. So basically you are accessing in Redux, you access the states as props, and you also dispatch the action using the props. See, this is the props. Okay, now here you see the dispatch action, the history and the profile. See, it is the props. Now what will happen, what we'll do is, first of all, executed because this function will get executed after the user hit the register button. So we'll have to set the function, set that property to true. So that will be like user. We'll just preserve the state and submitted equals to true. Now the next thing is that we'll dispatch the action. Now we imported this action creators. Now if we go and have a look at that action creators, we have this option. Okay, now the action creators props dot action creators. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just dispatch props dot dispatch. So these are the things that you need to do over here. So look, we are accessing the dispatch function from the props that we just saw right now, and we are giving this props the register function of the action creator from the action creator register function, and we are providing the submitted value so that the payloads, the status will go to the register form. Now then we are also accessing the profile, and we are giving the user the user, the state, the user which is in the state, and we are also using the history function of the prop value to log in. You can also see what we are giving that, using that dispatch function to